All right, this week on The Anxious Creative, I have a very special guest for you, and I am so excited to introduce you to Kelsey the Happiness Trainer. Oh my gosh, does that not sound like the most fun job, fun job ever? And I just realized that if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see all of my cups. Truth be told, I had recorded an intro to this podcast earlier without any audio. Kudos to you, Don. Anyway, in this episode, we get into some really, really amazing things. There is one line in this episode that has actually changed my life since we recorded it. So get ready to hear from Kelsey Mathis, the happiness trainer, on this week's episode of The Anxious Creative. I overthink, I overshare, and I overanalyze. So come explore with me as I chat about business, life, and relationships, all through the lens of an anxious creative. We are here with Kelsey Mathis, Happiness Trainer. Welcome to the podcast, Kelsey.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So before we get into it, what the heck is a happiness trainer? I love the sounds of this.
It's a title that I made up.
But it works.
Because it describes what I do. I help my clients find ways to become happier in their life, in their business. And there are ways both in making state in how you strategize your time, how you implement self-care, but there's also ways mentally with gratitude practices, with meditation practices that you can up-level the balance in your life. And no, nobody's ever going to be happy 100% of the time.
Damn it.
That's just not...
Wait, I'm stopping this. You can't. No, I'm just kidding. Reality check. There's no happiness 100% of the time. And you don't want to be happy all the time.
No, because then you'll lose sight of how beautiful it is when you are joyful or happy, right? We need sadness. We need anger. We need frustration. We need all of that. It's part of the human experience. But if it's all of that gross stuff all the time and not balanced out with joy, happiness, and excitement, then we're really just missing out on an entire spectrum of human experience. So I help clients find more balance in that state so they can just spread more joy, because when we're happier people, we're more pleasant to be around, and that has a ripple effect.
I love that. And one of my favorite things I ever heard about balance was, like, if you think of like a scale, you're never fully at balance. Like, you're always like, it's like going, and for those of you guys that are listening to this and not watching it, you can't really see what my hands are doing, but like most people live in this like up and down, where if you can get more where it's like, okay, once it's tipping that way, balancing it back, and like finding that there's no place where it's just like harmonious and you never have to like add or subtract here and there. Would you agree with that?
Totally. I use like the teeter-totter. Like, you don't want to be on that far end of the teeter-totter. You want to be straddling the middle.
Yeah.
Right? Because the nature of nature is to be evolving. Therefore, nothing that remains static is going to serve us in the long run. So we just need to learn to adapt to the circumstances so that we can stay closer to the middle of that teeter-totter and make little adjustments rather than having to make big leaps.
I love that. So how did you come to be a happiness trainer?
Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I started running businesses like right out of college. I was an actor in New York City with a theater company. And that lifestyle, I was bartending as well, and eating a lot of horrible foods and drinking a lot of booze, and
so good.
Living that late night lifestyle. Which you can do in your 20s, right?
I know. I used to like wake up hungover and go to the gym and sweat it out.
How? I don't know how I did that either.
I can't now. Like, it's like the day I turned 30, it like my hangovers, like I couldn't get out of, I didn't know what a hangover was when people would talk about it. And then like 30 years old, I was like, I can't move my body till 5 p.m.
This is a hangover.
Yeah. This is what they were talking about. Anyway. Okay. So you're living the night lifestyle in New York City, eating, you were saying nachos and tequila 24/7, which is like, you have just become my best friend forever because that's all I live for.
Oh, I used to have like a whole system of like when I would drink my coffee, when I would drink my Red Bull, when I would start drinking, just to stay up until like 6 a.m, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Craziness.
But that's a whole nother podcast episode. You talk about your New York days. I'll talk about my England days when I was in the UK. We partied from like 10 p.m. till like 10 p.m. on Friday till like 7 a.m. on Sunday.
Wow.
It was
That's legit.
intense. Yeah.
That's legit.
Okay.
And
So
it's all well and good until you like find yourself in the employee bathroom of your bar having a panic attack at 2:00 in the morning, feeling like you need to go home, but you are too afraid to leave the stall.
yes. So panic attacks, like they're part of your story. How did panic attacks manifest? What was the panic and the anxiety about?
I think I was really good at just saying everything was fine and pushing myself to the point of burnout, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I might close the bar at 6 a.m. and be up by 10 a.m., showered and ready to go to auditions. And
Holy crap.
I thought healthy food at that time was like 100-calorie slices of bread with cream cheese on it and like iceberg lettuce salads. So not helping.
Yeah.
For me, the panic attacks, it was just like a constant feeling of tightness in my chest and like I couldn't breathe. And then when that would bubble up and over, it would be me like hyperventilating and tears streaming down my face. And that happened on 14th Street and 8th Avenue. It happened in the bathroom of the bar. Like, and I wasn't in touch enough with myself at the time to see a pattern as to what was triggering it. All I knew is I was afraid to leave my apartment. And I lived in an awful tenement in Hell's Kitchen with giant cockroaches. So it was like, I was afraid to leave the apartment. And because I didn't know how emotionally I was going to react to anything or any stimulus or what would push me over. And I didn't, I'd been in and out of talk therapy over the course of my life, but I was afraid that the only solution that would be offered to me would be pills.
Yeah. Were you ever on medication?
I wasn't, no. I have no problem with Western medicine. I think it is very valuable for acute illness and it's saving lives all the time. But for me, I was like, I'm not even 25 yet. I should be able to try a couple of things to see if I can fix this.
Yeah.
And I just started seeking holistic avenues. So I started with acupuncture and that helped a little bit. And then I found my meditation teacher and I heard her speak and I was like, oh my God, if this meditation technique, this Vedic meditation technique, which is 20 minutes twice a day, utilizing a mantra, does what it says it does, even 10%, then let's try this. And so I learned to meditate. And honestly, within a month to 3 months, I was feeling a million times better. I was sleeping better. I was prioritizing myself more. I think it probably also helps that during this time, I moved out of my nasty Hell's Kitchen apartment with a roommate who I wasn't getting along with and into a beautiful apartment with my boyfriend at the time.
Yeah, that would make a big difference.
Yeah, the environment change helped. But that led me to starting to explore how food affects you.
Yeah.
Food is the building blocks of our cellular system and that creates our body. So that I started working with a holistic nutritionist and it was somebody who came into the bar and he was like, Kelsey, you understand that 100-calorie bread and cream cheese does not healthy food make. You're eating cardboard.
You know what I used to do, just thinking about that? I think back, and some of my old roommates will like remind me of it, and I'm so embarrassed, but I used to toast a bagel and then put peanut butter, whipped cream, like Cool Whip,
hell yeah,
chocolate chips on it, and have it for breakfast. Dessert. So good.
Hey,
so
I understand. I do.
Yeah.
I used to
that's so funny. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I used to have a cookie dough roll in my fridge and I would just like go in and like take a scoop. A couple minutes later, take a scoop.
Yeah. I love that. And so how, like, because some of the people who are listening are probably like, now she's going to tell us that we can't have that scoop of cookie dough or we can't have that. How do you, because it's so, I know it for myself in my life, I like go on these like health kicks and I like get myself feeling so good. And what happens is I really suck at maintenance. And that's something I teach my students inside my programs. And I talk about on the podcast is like, how do you maintain without depriving yourself and then completely, because I'll deprive, and then fall off the wagon so hard and just like binge on, whether it's unhealthy eating or unhealthy lifestyle or whatever it is. How do you maintain some sort of rhythm so that you can still treat yourself and reward yourself?
Totally. And that's a great question. My entire philosophy is balance. And that comes from having studied primarily, Chinese traditional medicine, but Ayurveda lifestyle. And really that is like, unless you're healing from a disease that is, that could be an autoimmune, that could be anything. It could be extreme anxiety. Like, unless you need to do a healing protocol, which is going to be more extreme, which is temporary, it's considered medicinal, right? You could call a cleanse medicinal, right, but that's not sustainable, right? If you tell yourself you can never go out and have a glass of champagne ever again with your girlfriends, like you're going to immediately want that glass of champagne, or never having cookies again, right? Like,
yeah, nachos.
In Ayurveda, the principle is you want to move towards what you want rather than away from what you don't want. So let's say I'm trying to incorporate, like, I want to feel.
Can you say that line one more time? Because that really connected a dot. You want to move away, or you want to move towards?
You want to move towards what you want rather than away from what you don't want. So if you don't want to be eating cookies, what you want to do is move towards what you want to be eating instead. So maybe that's starting with an apple. And it's like, I can have a cookie if I want it. But every time I have a cookie craving, I'll have an apple first. And then if I still want the cookie, sure. But if I don't, then I don't have to have it. Right?
I love that.
Towards.
Yeah, that's something. So every morning I like write in my journal. Well, not every morning. It's pretty much like 3 days in a row, and then I'll forget for 4 days. Again, this is why you're on the podcast. But one thing that I read somewhere, which is very similar to that, is like, instead of saying to yourself, like, I need to start doing this, or I'm not, why am I not enough of this? Start writing, I can be more of. And I always am like focused, determined, like persistent, and like, just like the moving towards something rather than towards something you want rather than away. I like that. And the apple example is so good because that really rings true to my life.
Yeah. And it's the language we use too, right? And how we start to notice how we talk about ourselves or talk about habits. Like, for me, the big thing is working out. Like, I've never really been able to have consistent workout experience. I'll get really good at it because at that apartment and at that job, the gym's on my way to work and has classes that fit my schedule.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that goes away, like, I'm off the wagon for 6 months. And one of the things that I've started working on with me is, instead of saying to myself, because I work 100% from home now, I should work out today. I say, I love training my body to feel strong. And I put the appointments on my calendar, and if I don't show up for myself the way that I said I was going to at that appointment time, then I don't get to do fill in the blank, right? Like, so I attach it to
for the rest of the night.
Yeah, like, I don't get Netflix that day, or I can't listen to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, or I can't first I'm changing how I'm talking about it with myself, going from a should to I love to train so that I feel strong because I want that result and feel empowered. But then also, if I don't do it, and I said I was going to do it, and trust me, I've gone through the ringer of finding out what's a reasonable amount for myself. And right now that's like 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what I've got going on. So don't set yourself up for failure and schedule at 7 a.m. 7 days a week. Like, that's not going to work. That's not balance.
Yeah.
But changing the language, and then having a punishment, parenting yourself. If you don't show up for yourself for that positive activity. Right.
I love that. That's so good. You know what? I just, on the day that we're recording this, I sent out an email to everyone saying, like, please, like, the ways I keep myself motivated. And I was like, number one's like accountability. And I was like, please send me a DM on Instagram and tell me that I'm going to follow through and get on my Peloton later.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I like, putting it out on social media keeps me so accountable. If I'm like, doing this tomorrow, guys, like, even if no one even asks me or calls me out, I know that other people knew about it.
Well, think about it. We spend the first, 20 something years of our life under some sort of rule and structure. And then we graduate college, it's just like, fly, birdie.
Yeah.
Be successful. And especially for entrepreneurs, when we're creating what that success looks like, when we're creating what that schedule looks like, we have to kind of work with our inner 5-year-old that doesn't want to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a balanced way to have that conversation. But first, that's showing up with the intention of balance and not depriving yourself of XYZ.
Yeah.
And coming at it from that mindset.
I love that, because I feel like I always say to people, like, if you show up saying this isn't going to work for you, it 100% won't work for you.
Oh, you're so right. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, don't, like, if you're like, come begrudgingly to something and it's like, yeah, this is a piece of crap and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not going to learn anything. You 100% won't, because you've already blocked yourself. And the one, I'm big on analogies, is I say, like, your beliefs are like a compass, and you head in the direction of what you believe is possible. Yes. And so if you've got this thing that you know you're capable of doing, but you're going to be like, I'm going to go towards it, but it's not going to work. It's like walking towards someone, but looking the other way. You inevitably don't walk towards them. Right? So it's like, people are like, this is what I want. This is what I can have, but it can't happen for me. So it's like, you're trying to walk towards it with your head this way, and you start to curve off. Yeah. And so trusting that I don't know what you think about this, but the whole manifestation thing, I'm like, I don't think just saying something, you can get it by saying it, but by saying it repeatedly and believing it, you start to take the steps towards it, which was what I would say manifestation is.
I completely agree. You can't just like sit in a chair and be like, I will manifest $100,000. Mm-hmm. I will manifest 100,000. Like, everything starts in our mind, but is received through action. Mm-hmm. That is in alignment with what we want. So we have to start with the thought, and we have to get our ego on board with the thought and open to that change, because our ego, and let's call that the sense of self that we have, those self-identifications. I'm a coffee drinker. I'm a tea drinker. I'm a morning person. I'm a night person, right? Ooh. When we introduce something new into this set of identities, our ego kind of freaks out, because its job is to keep us in the known, because the known is safe. So by starting these thoughts in the minds, that's why gratitude works. That's why affirmations work. We're starting with getting the ego on board. So as we do start to take inspired action in our life towards the thing, it already has a familiarity. And the cool thing about our brain is it doesn't really know the difference between fantasy and reality. Now let's investigate fantasy. We have positive fantasy, which is dreaming. We have negative fantasy, which is worrying. So if it doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality, whatever I'm choosing to tell my mind will come to fruition. And it starts on a subconscious level. So we have to really get in there and actively work with our brain to train it to do the things that we want, rather than what we don't want.
That's so cool. Yeah. Like, if you focus on all, like, and I was saying this to some people the other day, like, if you keep focusing on like what could go wrong, then you'll never do the thing. But if you focus like, what if it could all go right? Right. Cause you're watering the weeds differently. If you're like, if all of your thoughts is a garden, right? And the positive thoughts that are for your greatest good and being of service to the world in the way that you were meant to be are beautiful flowers, and all of your limiting beliefs, self-doubt, guilt, all of that are weeds. Like, if you're like, this is never going to work, you're just watering those weeds, and what we put our attention on grows. Yeah. And I know, like, especially for the people that are listening in who struggle, who are creative people that are anxious, like and I know there are people who want to serve and help other people, but they get caught up in like what if one person doesn't like me, or what if one customer or client says something mean about me, or that sort of thing. And like, I always say, like, there's going to be one, like, be prepared. But think of how you can help other people. Ash Amberjay, the author of the Middle Finger Project, and she's a huge inspiration to me. Read her book. It's awesome. I've never heard of it. Yeah. Oh my God. Follow her on Instagram. She's a badass lady. But one of her quotes, and I'm going to butcher it, so this is a paraphrase, but like, if you're pleasing everybody, you're doing something wrong. Oh yeah. Right? Because if you're trying to make everybody love you, you're not finding the tribe of people that truly do love you and who are going to become those cheerleaders for you, for your business. And really those are the people that help you grow.
especially in a service-based industry, because they're going to be the ones that are like, oh my God, you have to go see my person that does this. You know?
There's a lesson inside my Rock Your Business program that I say that I think it's called, I'm totally forgetting my own name of my stuff, but if you try to be for everyone, you end up being for no one.
Yes.
And I use the example of, once again, an analogy is, I need to write this down because I always forget about my analogies. Is that if you're a margarita, no, wait, that's not a good one because I love margaritas. I always say like an old fashioned because some people really love old fashions. And so if you gave me an old fashioned, I'd be like, this is gross. I hate it. I don't like it. Where you give it to my boyfriend and he's like, this is so good. But if you watered down the old fashioned, neither of us are going to like it.
Right.
And like water themselves down trying to please everyone and you end up having no one like you. Where if you just are like a good, strong drink, yeah, there'll be people who don't like you, but then there'll be people who love you.
Yes. I love that.
That's a good one.
So
hey?
on point. Our boyfriends would be best friends.
Yeah. Perfect. They will need to meet one day.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So you are the happiness trainer. Tell me, like, if people are like, oh my goodness, this Kelsey girl is like right up my alley and I need her help. Like, what kind of things how do you work with clients? How can people connect with you more?
Yeah. So I'm offering online meditation weekly. So that's a live class that you can come sit in on and meditate. I go over different types of breath work, guided meditations. I educate on the different types of meditation and how they work differently, affirmations and gratitude. So that's free. You just sign up for it, join me. We kind of come in, close our eyes and meditate for about 25 minutes of the class.
Oh, and that's not too long. Cause I was going to say, what about those people that are like, yeah, I totally know I'm supposed to meditate, but I don't have the time for it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different types of practices and it's about finding what works best for you.
Yeah.
So what I do in these classes is I'm actually teaching like 4 or 5 techniques over the course of those 25 minutes that you can use individually or you can use as a total program. Okay. And really consistency is the key here because that's how we change our thought patterns over time. Mm-hmm. And then I also have a free download on my website that will lead you to getting started with some pre-recorded meditations that I have. And those run, 2 to 5 minutes, I think. So they're
that sounds right up my alley. Yeah. And I think that's good because like that's something I know, like the anxiety happens, it snowballs, and then you don't know how to stop it. And then I'll get caught up in the like, I just have too many things to do. I can't slow down because if I slow down, everything will fall apart. So how do you guide someone through like when they're like, yeah, like Kelsey, happiness trainer, this sounds amazing and I know she can help me, but I don't know how to slow down this spinning hamster wheel that I'm on right now to even start meditating? So
that typically is best started with breath work. One of the fastest ways we can change our physiology is through changing our breath. If you think about anxiety breath, it's high in the chest, it's tight, it's restricted, we're breathing very shallowly. So by dropping our breath back into the belly, relaxing the belly and extending our exhale, this is called the 2X breath. When you extend your exhale twice as long as your inhale, you're actually cueing your parasympathetic nervous system that you're safe through doing this. And so your subconscious mind is like, oh, I can turn down the fight or flight response a little bit right now. And if you go in and this is one of the pre-recorded ones, but you can go in with starting by, I'm just going to relax my belly. I'm going to breathe in on a 2 count and then out on a 4 count. And you're 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. The counting gives our mind something to hang on to and a mindfulness.
I feel like you just calmed me right then. Seriously, I'm like, oh.
Even it sounds nice because we're slowing down and we're giving our body and our mind something to align with, right? And that can just kind of put a pause in that hamster wheel because I totally know you kind of get wrapped up in the thoughts and then they go spinning up here.
Yeah, and you're kind of like above yourself.
Mm-hmm. And you got to get back into the body, and breath work is one of the fastest ways to do that.
Oh, cool. Okay. So everyone should go. So what's the link they need to go to?
meditatewithkelsey.com.
All right.
Or you can grab it on Instagram at yourcoachkelsey.
I love it. And those will be in the show notes for you guys to get to find. So you said Instagram. What's your Instagram handle again? Say that again.
At your coach, Kelsey.
I love that. And what kind of stuff do you post on Instagram?
I'll post anything from practices that I use to thoughts that I have, bits of articles that I've either posted or parts of thoughts about, like, what is meditation? How does it help you? What is breath work? Here's a story about it. And yeah, it's very organic.
I love it. Yeah. And if this whole world is new to you, go give Kelsey a follow. If it's something that's not new to you, but you feel like finally it's clicking and she's the right person, like, go shoot her a DM, let her know that you listened to the podcast, let her know that you loved it. And definitely you said you have a freebie on your website. Remind them again about what that is.
It's a step 2 guide of how to stop waiting and start meditating right away. And then it will lead you to my pre-recorded playlist.
I love it. Well, thank you for giving so much, like doing free meditations and giving people so much. I think that's so wonderful that you're openly sharing and helping people, especially through your own journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. But one last question, just as it comes to mind, is like, so you went from in the bar, drinking coffee, Red Bull, alcohol, staying awake, eating toast or bread with the cream cheese, to realizing you had to do it. What was the hardest hurdle after there's one thing of like knowing what you need to do and actually doing it?
I think the most difficult thing that I find is, over the last 10 years, I've moved a lot, and I've also taken a lot of trips that are like 6 to 8 weeks, 3-month trips. Mm-hmm. So my life has felt kind of like it's constantly changing. And as soon as I find a routine, it gets changed. So that is consistently the thing that I come back to, is like, okay, what is my minimum of self-care practice, and how do I get to where I'd like to be given the new set of circumstances? And that's the challenge that we all have, right? Like, life is never static. We're evolving all the time. So, we're all constantly continuing to try to take it to the next level, whatever that is.
Yeah. And how often do you eat cookie dough now?
I actually, I don't remember. I think, we got some like gluten, because I'm gluten free now. So I have to like get the fancy cookie things.
Yeah.
So like 2 or 3 weeks ago, there's a gluten-free bakery down a neighborhood over from me. And I took my dog for a run and bought some cookies for me and my boyfriend to enjoy. But that's not the last time I had sugar. I'm more of a dark chocolate girl these days.
Me too. Oh my gosh. We're so similar. I love it. I think, and I love that you will admit that you do that, because I went and saw an herbalist once that was like, she wanted me on the Candida diet forever. She literally never had any, she didn't even eat fruit. Like, she didn't even have sugar, like natural sugars ever. And she wanted me to jump on this. And I was like, I don't think I can do this for the rest of my life. So I love that you infuse, like, you can reward yourself, just keep moving, like have the apple first before you have the cookie, totally. Move towards what you want rather than away from what you don't want. That is like such a huge statement that I love so much.
Awesome. Yeah. And again, it's about balance. Like, if you're healing from Candida, yeah, you want to do that, but no, it's going to be temporary. Yeah. And once you heal, you can go back to finding a balance between eating like the really good healthy foods and then having a frozen pizza or ordering Mexican food or whatever it is that brings you joy. Because if you like aren't infusing the possibility of joy into everything, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Then where's the happiness in that, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a happiness trainer. Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was so great to have you. I learned so much. I don't doubt that everyone listening has learned so much. So thank you for sharing your expertise, and I can't wait to chat with you again soon.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much.
Holy crap. Like, was that not just like the most amazing conversation to listen into? Kelsey is so awesome. Make sure you go and stalk her and creep her on Instagram. Go DM her and let her know you listen to the podcast. I know I'm going to be totally bugging her and checking in with her. She seems like the coolest person. She's my new friend. She ain't getting rid of me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you want to learn how to get a little bit less stress on your plate and more happiness, go get on the waitlist for my program, Rock Your Business, your stress-free guide to earning six figures. You can go to donbradley.com/RYB, learn all about it. There's no obligation. Get on the waitlist, and then you get first dibs when I can begin enrollment and start helping you take the stress off your plate, become a happier individual, just like Kelsey. Go check out her offerings as well, and let's connect over on the Instagram. Let's stay connected over there, but I cannot wait to be back in your earbuds or in your car speakers or wherever you listen or watch this podcast from next week with an awesome episode. But for now, click that subscribe, hit that like, leave a comment, leave a review. I love seeing your comments, your reviews, and what you like about this podcast. So until next week, we'll see you later.